Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another video. We got a good one prepared today. What we'll be doing is we'll be looking at our NFL best bets for all of our Week 14 NFL games for the 2024 football season. We're going to completely break down these matchups, try to predict the outcome, who's going to win, who's going to lose, what the final score will be, but we'll be touching on the best bets for every single game, focusing on the money line, the spread, the over-under. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Every week we go over every single NFL game. We also do the same thing for every college football game as well. The top 25, the non-top 25, and we're going to be focusing on that college football playoffs coming up soon. If you're a football fan, if you're a sports fan, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can follow along with us. So our Thursday night game is already in the books. We did have the Lions beating the Packers, so we were right on with that one. Let's go ahead and move on to our Sunday games and our Monday game. Kicking things off early, Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. on Fox. You have the 6-6 Atlanta Falcons coming off the bye, fully rested. They'll be playing the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings. What a year they've been having so far. They lost J.J. McCarthy. Sam Darnold has stepped in. This team has not looked back. He's been extremely efficient at quarterback, having his best season of his career. But we know that the Falcons have one of the best offensive rosters in all football, but they're the underdogs here. Right now, the Vikings 5.5-point favorites. The over-under is 45.5, and they have a 62.6% chance to win this game. Cousins, in order to win this game, you have to play a clean game, keep the turnovers down. Right now, it's closing in on 3,100 yards, 17 touchdowns, 13 picks. You got to cut down on the interceptions. This has the potential to be a very high-scoring game. Sam Darnold's closing in on 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 10 picks. For the Falcons, they're averaging 21.4. Throwing for 243, running for 118, giving up 24.3 points a game. They got to tighten up on the defense. And the Vikings are averaging 24.8, throwing for 232, running for 113, giving up 18.3. They only give up 81 rushing yards per game. That's the key here. Falcons have a really good offensive roster. Minnesota's going to try to bottle them up, keep them in the pocket, keep them from being able to get yards on the ground, forcing them to have to beat them vertically through the air, which could potentially mean some turnovers. But the Falcons have Bijan Robinson, Algier, London, Pitts, Mooney, multiple weapons, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and Minnesota's going to counter that with Jones Sr. and with Justin Jefferson, who is obviously a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. We have the Vikings winning a higher scoring game, 27-23, going with the plus 5.5, but we're going to go with the over. And our next game's on Fox at 1 p.m. We have the 4-8 New Orleans Saints. They've had such an up and down season, 1-2 straight, lost like 7 games straight, and then they won some more games up and down throughout the year. They don't have a bad roster by any means. It's just getting the offense and the defense to have a good game at the same time. They'll be playing the 2-10 New York Giants. Right now, the Saints obviously come in here as the favorites. They are also 5.5-point favorites. The over in here is 40.5, and the Saints have a 66.7% chance to win this game. The Saints are extremely Alvin Kamara-centric. Someone else has to step up at the receiver position. Olave has been banged up throughout the season. Carr, he's not having a bad year by any means, but we need the defense to play better, and we need the team to step up on the offensive side. Right now, the Saints are averaging 23 points a game, throwing for 214, running for 132, and on defense, they're giving up 23.4 points a game. For the Giants at the quarterback position, they've been shuffling quarterbacks. Right now, they're under their 3rd quarterback lock. It really doesn't matter who plays quarterback. They're not consistently moving the ball down the field. They have one of the worst offenses, a bottom 3 offense. They're averaging 15.3, throwing for 183, running for 116, giving up 23.3 points a game. They don't have a bad defense. They're just on the field the entire game. For the Saints, you have Alvin Kamara closing in on 900 yards rushing, 500 yards receiving. Like I keep saying, someone else needs to step up in the receiving room, because if you shut down Kamara, or if he's not 100% that day, this offense completely grinds to a complete halt. For the Giants, they have Tracy Jr., they have Malik Neighbors. He's a legitimate wide receiver number 1. They just need a quarterback through the draft, through free agency, who can consistently feed the playmaker the ball. We have the Saints winning this one, getting back in that win column, winning this one 26-17, covering the spread, and we're going to go with the over. And then at 1 p.m. on Fox, you have the 3-9 Carolina Panthers. Props to them. They're no longer the worst team in the NFL, probably. They are pretty close, but since Bryce Young has come back at the starting quarterback, he's been having a pretty decent year so far. They'll be playing the 10-2 Philadelphia Eagles, who right now, they are competing for one of the best teams in the NFL. They're lighting things up on both sides of the ball. The key is they've cut those turnovers down. Second half of last season, they had a lot of turnovers. They've been playing really clean football this season, and their defense is playing at a playoff caliber level. They are 13-point favorites. The over under here is 45.5, and they have a 86% chance to win this game. Right now for the Panthers, they're averaging 18.1, throwing for 187, running for 105, but they have the worst statistical defense in the NFL, giving up 30.5 points per game. That's a lot lower than it used to be, but it's still the highest in the NFL. They have Bryce Young, Chuba Hubbard. Even though everyone knows he's going to run the ball, he's the X factor. He continues to pick up yardage on the ground. He's closing in on 1,000 yards. And the Eagles, they are loaded on offense. Hurts closing in on 3,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 picks. They're averaging 26.7. Throwing for 188.8, running for 188.9. That's as balanced of an offense as it gets. It's completely 50-50 balanced, and they're only giving up 18.2 points per game on defense. They have the number one rush offense in the NFL. They're lighting things up on the ground. Saquon Barkley's 1 yard from 1,500. He might get 2,000 rushing yards this season. He could potentially be the MVP this season, and they have A.J. Brown. They have Smith. They have too many weapons, and they're too hot right now. We have the Eagles winning this one 33-18, covering the spread, going with the over. And then on CBS at 1 p.m., the 3-9 New York Jets versus the 5-7 Miami Dolphins. Right, the Dolphins come in 6-point favorites. The over here is 44.5, and they have a 54.5% chance to win this game. The Jets have been completely disappointing. Whenever I have picked them this season, I think they've only won once of those times. They're not having a good year by any means. They have a lot of holes to pick. Rodgers not having a bad statistical season. It's just getting that offense to score has been extremely difficult. Rodgers closing on 2,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 picks. They're averaging 18.8, throwing for 204, only running for 87.3. They got to get the run game going so that they can open up the play action. They are giving up 22.3 points a game. Obviously, they have coaching issues. And right now for the Dolphins, since they've gotten Tua back, they're back to being a top 5 offense since Tua has been back. They are averaging 19.3. Throwing for 218, running for 110, giving up 22.2. They have a top 5 rushing defense. They are going to look to bottle up the Jets, keep the rush game shut down, force the Jets to beat them vertically through the air. Tua is closing on 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 4 picks. Don't forget, he did miss 4 games. They played really bad those 4 games. But since he's back, this offense has gone to a different level. For the Jets, they have Breece Hall, Wilson, Lazard, Adams. They don't have a bad wide receiver core. They just need to make some plays. And for the Dolphins, they're loaded. Mostert, Achin, Hill, Waddle, Berrios, Beckham. Multiple weapons. Tua's back on the field. They're going to chip their way back to 500. We have the Dolphins winning this one 27-17, covering the spread, but we're just slightly going with the under. And then on 1 p.m. at CBS, we have the 3-9 Cleveland Browns versus the 9-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a rematch of the game the Browns stole a win a couple weeks ago. Played this game extremely difficult. Every Steelers game is a one-possession win or loss, but this is a Mike Tomlin team. They play defense. They run the ball. But what version of Jameis Winston do we get this game? Is he efficient Winston, 3-4 touchdowns, or is he 3-4 pick Winston? It's a 50-50 one. Could go either way. No matter what, he's much better than Deshaun Watson this season. Right now, the Browns are averaging 18.2, throwing for 227, running for 87.3, giving up 25.7 points per game. They don't have a bad defense, but they've been on the field a lot this season. And for the Steelers, they're going to be rolling with Russell Wilson. He's closing in on 1,700 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks. They're averaging 24.7 points a game, throwing for 211, running for 133, but it's that defense only giving up 18.7 points per game. They have a playoff level defense. They're going to try to get a lot of pressure on Jameis Winston, try to blitz him, try to hit him, try to get some tackles for a loss, try to force him into making some errant throws, and try to pick the ball off. They're only giving up 90.5 rushing yards on the ground. For the Browns, they have Ford, Judy. Pittsburgh, expect a steady dose of Najee Harris. They're going to try to run downhill right at the Browns. And for those 3rd and long situations, you have George Pickens. Pickens, just play a clean game. No unnecessary flags. We have the Steelers winning this one in a one-possession win, as they usually do. 23-18. So we're going with the plus 6.5, and we're just slightly going with the under. And then on CBS at 1 p.m., the 2-10 Las Vegas Raiders, they're just having an awful season. They're not good at offense. They're not good at defense. They'll be playing the 6-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have Mike Evans back. Do not underestimate how massive of an upgrade that was at wide receiver. Yes, they're still down Godwin. He was leading the NFL in receptions when he went out. but Evans is a security blanket for Baker Mayfield. Right now, the Bucs 6.5-point favorites here. The over-under is 46.5. I think a 69.9% chance to win this one. For the Raiders, they've been shuffling quarterbacks, and neither of them have been able to consistently move the ball. They're only averaging 18.6, throwing for 226. One of the worst rush offenses in the NFL, only running for 78.1. You got to get that up to beat the Bucs. Every game's a shootout with the Bucs, and they're giving up, that 27.8 on defense. For the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield picked up right where he left off last season. One of the best passing teams in the NFL. He's closing in on 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, 11 picks. They have a top 5 offense. They're averaging 27.9, throwing for 239, running for 137, giving up 24.5 points a game. They don't have a great defense, but thankfully for them, the Raiders don't have the offense that's capable of getting into a shootout. For the Raiders, they do have Brock Bowers. He's closing in on 900 yards. He just needs a better quarterback next season. And for Tampa Bay, they have Irving. They have Mike Evans back, a young wide receiver core. We have Tampa Bay continuing to roll here on offense. They win this one 27-20, covering the spread, going with the over. And then at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 2-10 Jacksonville Jaguars, not going to be Trevor Lawrence, it's going to be Mac Jones at quarterback after that dirty hit. They'll be playing the 3-9 Tennessee Titans. Tennessee, they don't have a bad defense. It's just the offense turns the ball over so much it puts the defense in really bad spots. Right now, Tennessee, they're averaging, they are a 3.5-point favorite. The over here is 40.5. But the Jags have a 50.5% chance to win this game. The whole week, I had the Jags still pulling off the upset here. Both of these teams are not very good teams. It is basically the battle for 3 wins. Will the Jags be able to get to 3 wins, or will Tennessee be getting from 3 wins to 4 wins? Right now, Jacksonville, they're averaging 19 a game, throwing for 196, running for 101, giving up 28.3 points a game. That's a bottom 3 defense in the NFL, and you can blame it on their secondary. They give up 273 passing yards per game. One of the worst secondaries in the NFL, but Tennessee just doesn't have the firepower to throw for 300 yards. Right now, it's been Levis, Rudolph. Really doesn't matter. They're only averaging 18.4 per game. Levis has been playing better, though, the last few weeks. They're throwing for 186, running for 111, but they're also giving up 27.7. But it's mainly due to turnovers. There's no reason to be forcing the ball versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially with their backup quarterback playing. But Jacksonville does have a pretty decent roster. It's just they've been playing like crap the whole season. For Tennessee, they have Pollard, they have Ridley. They have the more efficient team as of right now. So like I said, this is a battle for one of the last places in the NFL. But we have the Jacksonville Jaguars dropping this one 21-17 to the Tennessee Titans, them covering the spread. We're going with the under. Like I said, I had the Jags winning the whole week, but after a while, I ultimately decided to go with Tennessee to win this game. But this is one of those games, it's a 50-50 pick. I could honestly see it going either way. In our next game on CBS at 4:05, we have the 7-5 Seattle Seahawks playing some hot football right now versus the 6-6 Arizona Cardinals. Both of these teams are very flippant. They're both 50-50. Which version of themselves shows up? Both of these teams have a good week. Both of these teams have bad weeks. Which version are we going to get this week? Right now, the Cardinals are 2.5-point favorites. The over here is 44.5. The Cardinals have a 58% chance to win this game. For the Seahawks, Geno Smith, he has 12 touchdowns. He has 12 picks. What Geno Smith shows up? That's a completely thing that's out of our control. We don't know it yet. Sometimes he has 3 touchdowns. Sometimes he has 3 picks. It could go either way. Right now, they average 22.7 points a game, throwing for 250, running for 88.7, giving up 22.1. And the Cardinals, they have Kyler Murray. He cannot just throw it. He can scramble. Even when he's running, he's keeping his eyes down the field looking for those targets. They're averaging 22.2, throwing for 206, running for 141, giving up 21.6 points a game. Right now, he's closing on 2,700 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, 6 picks. He also has 4 rushing touchdowns. And for Seattle, they could have a Kenneth Walker if he's fully healthy. They have Smith. They have DK Metcalf if he is also fully healthy. And for the Cardinals, Connor, McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. This is truly a 50-50 game, but I have Seattle playing the hotter football right now. I have a decent Geno Smith showing up. They win this one 24-20. Going to go with the plus 2.5 and just slightly with the under. And then at 4:25 p.m. on Fox, the 10-2 Buffalo Bills versus the and 6 LA Rams. This is two offenses who are more than capable of getting into a shootout this week. Right now, Buffalo, though, playing some of the hottest football in the NFL. They're 3.5-point favorites. The over here is 49.5. They have a 62.3% chance to win this game. Josh Allen having an MVP caliber season, closing on 2,700 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 5 picks. He also has 7 rushing touchdowns, averaging 29.6. That's the top 3 offense. Throwing for 220, running for 128, only giving up 18.7 points per game on defense. Defense travels on the road for the Rams. Don't judge them by their 6-6 record. A lot of that was without Cooper Kupp, was without Nakua. When they have a fully healthy offensive roster, they can let it up. They have the veteran quarterback Stafford. He can spread the ball out. They're averaging 21.2, throwing for 231, running for 100, giving up 24.2 points per game. The Bills have the edge on defense, but do not underestimate Williams, Kupp, Nakua, Atwell. They can definitely get into a shootout, have this ball last, win the game at the very end. And for Buffalo, they have Cook. They have a Josh Allen who's not forcing things, taking what the defense gives him. Shakir, Coleman, Cooper. We have the Buffalo Bills continuing to roll, winning this game 28-20, covering the spread, just slightly going with the under. And then on Fox at 4:25 p.m., the 4-6 Chicago Bears, sorry, the 4-8 Chicago Bears, even worse than I said. Right now, since that Hail Mary loss, they've completely fallen off the rails. Coach is getting fired. Caleb Williams has been playing better recently, but we need him to get rid of the ball when it's time to dump it off, and we need that offensive line to hold up. They'll be playing the 5-7 San Francisco 49ers, who are 3.5-point favorites. The over here is 43.5, and the 49ers have a 62.9% chance to win this game. The 49ers went from going to the Super Bowl, almost winning the Super Bowl, to completely falling off the rails this season. When they are fully healthy, they have the best top-to-bottom roster in the NFL to me. But that's the issue. When they're fully healthy, they've definitely not been anywhere near healthy this season, but they need a really good game out of Purdy in order to have a chance here. Right now, Chicago, they're much better than their record shows. They're averaging 20.1, throwing for 190, running for 109. It's that defense giving up 20 points a game that could potentially get them the game here. If they can control San Francisco's offense, shut down their run game, get some turnovers from Purdy, they have a chance to win this on the road. Right now, San Francisco, they're averaging 22.5, throwing for 233, running for 140, giving up 24.6. They had a top 3 defense last season. They definitely do not have it this season. And for the Bears, they have Swift, DJ Moore, Odunze, Allen. They have the weapons to take this game to get the upset. For San Francisco, obviously, they're down Mason, they're down McCaffrey. Running the ball is going to be pretty hard when you're down to your third option at the running back position. But still, Purdy should be able to spread the ball out. There's still Jennings, Kittle, they still have Debo. They still have enough weapons to be able to also score. I have San Francisco holding on to the win, but it's a really close one. They win this one 23-20, going with the plus 3.5, and also going to go with the under just barely. In our second to last game, but our final Sunday night game at 8:20 p.m. on NBC, the 8-4 Chargers versus the champs, the 11-1 Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, the Chiefs are 4-point favorites. The over here is 42.5. They have a 60.8% chance to win this game. To me, this game is truly a pick 'em. Do not underestimate the Chargers here. Kansas City plays a lot of really close games, and the Chargers have the number 1 statistical defense in the NFL. They can get some turnovers here. They can control the Chiefs' offense potentially, thus giving Justin Herbert the ball last. If it's a one-possession game, they could easily win this one. Right now, Herbert only has 1 interception this season. Kansas City's been living off the turnovers, giving their offense the short field. Right now, the Chargers, they're averaging 21.7, throwing for 198, running for 113. Like I mentioned, the best defense in the NFL, giving up 15.7. This is a hardball team. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play defense. Defense travels on the road. But right now, Kansas City, they're starting to get healthy. We know they are a playoff team. As they get closer to the playoffs, that's when they really start getting the ball rolling, when they start getting hot, and they're getting all their weapons back. Right now, Mahomes closing in on 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 picks. He's been playing much better the last few games. They're averaging 24.1, throwing for 230, running for 112, giving up 19.6, only giving up 87.8 on the ground. One of the best rush defenses in the NFL. Chargers want to run the ball. Kansas City wants to shut the run down. It's strength on strength. Who's going to own the trenches, the line of scrimmage? Right now for the Chargers, they've had a couple banged up players. J.K. Dobbins, Ladd McConkey. They need their fully healthy roster. They need their defense to show up here. And for Kansas City, Hunt, Pacheco, Kelsey, Worthy. They're starting to get those guys back. We have Kansas City winning a really close one, taking this one 23-20, going with the +4 and going with the over. And our final game of Week 14 on ESPN at 8:15 p.m. The 4-8 Cincinnati Bengals. They need to win out to have a shot at the playoffs. Probably not going to make the playoffs this season, but they do have a top 3 offense. They'll be playing the 5-7 Dallas Cowboys, who are just a shell of what they were last season. Right now, the Bengals 5-point favorites. Over here is 49.5. They have a 66.5% chance to win this game. Burrow leads the NFL in passing, putting up crazy numbers, but no matter how good the offense is, the defense is just as bad. Right now, Burrow's closing in on 3,400 yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 picks. They're averaging 27.9. The number 1 passing team, throwing for 264, running for 92, but they're giving up 28.3. They have to get a better performance from that defense. They give up just as many points as they score. Every single game is a shootout. And for Dallas, obviously Dak goes down. They have so many holes. Their strength used to be the offensive line, running game, defense. All 3 of those things are their weakness right now. They're averaging 20.7, throwing for 237, only running for 86 yards a game, giving up 28.3. Also a bottom 3 defense in the NFL. For Cincinnati, a lot of playmakers here. Brown, Chase, Higgins, multiple guys to spread the ball out to. Dallas is way too reliant on CeeDee Lamb. He's a great receiver, but he cannot carry this team completely on his back. Someone else has to step up. They got to get the run game going. No matter if they do, the Bengals should be able to outscore them here. We have Cincinnati winning this one 30-23, covering the spread and going with the over. So that's our breakdown. That's our best bets for all of our Week 14 NFL games. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Thanks for watching.